Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Real Sports Updates here. Back again with another video. You see the title of this video, you see the thumbnail. Let's jump right into it. All right, so basically we're going over what I think is going to be not the hottest, the second hottest training camp subject going into it. You know, I think this is going to be one of the things that a lot of people are going to be watching. I think, you know, NFL Network and you know, maybe some of the other networks might get into it as well too. This is going to be a hot topic going into the Chargers training camp, the defensive line depth. Now obviously, you know, we've talked ad nauseum about how the Chargers have, you know, improved the defensive line depth, and that was one of the things that, you know, pretty much kept the Chargers out of the playoffs last year. And it was something that Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley were going to, you know, go into free agency head first and, you know, really, you know, look for the best available guys, you know, to come and, you know, pretty much plug up the middle of the defense. And they did a good job of it. Again, we've talked ad nauseum about it, but now this is about the training camp battles that are going to happen. And this is particularly with the defensive line, right? With the base 3-4, pretty much that Staley runs, you know, this is the defensive line positions, right? So, you know, the nose tackle position, and, you know, pretty much the three, the 2-3 techniques. So this is pretty much what I'm getting to now. You know, Khalil Mack is he's classified as an outside linebacker. So is Joey Bosa. I mean, technically you can put them in with the defensive line. You know, it is a part of the defensive line, you know, but it is a hybrid position. You know, I'm really not gonna talk about those guys because we know that both of them are gonna make the team. So what I'm gonna be doing is pretty much covering everybody else, right? And, you know, there are going to be some guys who we know are going to make the team. Now, this is definitely going to come down to the 11 o'clock hour of cut day. I believe so. There are some good guys, and this is one of the issues when, you know, you go full bore, you know, in correcting one position group that was weak, you know, in a previous year. You kind of have to have this thing where you cut a good player or possibly two good players and, you know, maybe practice squad them or whatever. But, you know, even at that point, they might not be protected from getting signed on somebody else's roster. So there's going to be some, you know, back and forth, I believe. But, you know, most of it is just going to happen in training camp. The decision is going to be made in training camp. You know, I don't think you can put too much on the preseason because a lot of these guys, you know, aside from the rookies who were drafted and who have guaranteed contracts, you know, there's guys on the roster that were with the Chargers last year and, you know, even years before that as well too. So they are guys that the front office knows. They're guys that Tom Telesco knows. And, you know, the Chargers have a lot of information on them. And I just believe it's going to make it an even harder, you know, decision for Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley when it comes down to cut day. They're going to have a hard decision on their hands. So basically, I'm just going to go with the guys who I know are going to make the team right now, and then I'll get into who I think is going to be on the bubble. So the free agent signing, Austin Johnson, obviously he's going to make the team, right? He had a good season last year, and, you know, he's got guaranteed money, so he will be on the team. Same thing with Sebastian Joseph Day. He will be on the team. You know, he was a free agent signing, guaranteed money again. You know, good season last year, Super Bowl champ. So those two guys obviously going to be on the team. And to me, Otito, he's a 5th round pick, but he signed a contract. He's got guaranteed money, and, you know, he's going to make the team as well. He will make the team. Whether he plays a lot, you know, we don't know, but he will make the team because he's got guaranteed money there. I believe Christian Covington, I think he makes the team as well too. You know, he showed some bright spots last year, you know, coming in at, you know, on third downs. I seen him on the field on a lot of third downs. He had a pretty good start to the season, but I think he tailed off towards the end of the season. You know, that's not a great sign, but, you know, he is a guy that can bring pressure from the middle, and, you know, I think those guys are invaluable. But, you know, I think he makes a team, but, you know, maybe somebody else might have a different opinion. But I think those 4 guys are the ones that pretty much make the team right now. I think they're pretty solid. Now, everybody else, I think it can, you know, just kind of go, you know, from day to day, pretty much, with everybody else. So you look at a guy like Joe Gaziano. again, he had an okay season last year, but again, he's a replaceable player. So, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he makes like the final roster cut. Maybe he is like the number 53 or something. I don't know. I have no idea. Forrest Merrill, same thing with him, right? He was on the practice squad last season. But I think he had a really underrated season last year. I think he was good. And I think whenever he was in the game, he did what was asked of him. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I think the way that he is like built, he's kind of short and compact. I think he's like 6 foot, like 300 pounds. So he's kind of low to the ground, and he seems hard to move at the line of scrimmage. And I seen that at the Browns game that I was at. I noticed him. The Chargers, obviously the run defense was terrible that game, but when they did get stops, he was a part of the stops that they made. He seemed like a very, very hard guy to move at the line of scrimmage, and I was impressed with that. So, I do think that he has a very good shot to make the team. He's been around, for a year now, so he knows what is expected of him. And he did put some good stuff on tape last year, so I would not be surprised if he made the team. Now I think the two guys who are really on the bubble, and if somebody asked me today who would be the guys that are going to get cut right from the defensive line, if somebody asked me today, number one would be Jerry Tillery. I obviously made a video on him a couple months ago, whenever it was. He didn't show up to. Well, he did end up showing up to OTAs, but he wasn't there for the beginning of it or whatever. But he did show up eventually. But I think Jerry Tillery definitely on the bubble. Possibly if he has any trade value, then I think the Chargers look into that first. But if not, then I think they let him go. I think they cut him loose. I think the roster spot is much more important than the little small dead cap hit that he has. I think it's a very small. I can't remember what it was, but he has a very small dead cap hit if released. But if he does have trade value, I think they go there first. But to me, Jerry Tillery obviously number one, and then. Number two, I think possibly Brandon Fehoko. And I think he's a good player. He is a good player. But I think there is just too much. I think there's too much talent, to be honest. And I think he might actually be a victim of, this team having too much talent on it. And, in particular, the defensive line. There's too much talent up here. And, I think Fehoko, he's a good player. But I think he is just basically, the Chargers cannot have two guys. If Forrest Merrill makes the team, I don't think Brandon Fehoko makes the team, because both these guys are kind of one-trick ponies. They kind of both do the same thing. They both are in there to play the run, and they really don't bring pressure from the interior. So I think it behooves the Chargers to, have just one guy that does that, right? And not have, two of the same guys in there, because if push come to shove and there's injury or whatever, you have both these guys in there who do the same thing, right? You're going to have them in there, and if they're able to stop the run, good, but they bring no pressure from the interior of the line. And I think that could be an issue, especially down the season. You need to collapse the pocket from all aspects, on the defensive line, right? From the outside, from the inside, from the left side, the right side, whatever. You have to be able to collapse the pocket from all angles. And I don't think Fehoko and I don't think Ferris Merrill do a great job of that. But I didn't even think that they were asked to last year, so it's really not their fault. But I just don't see the Chargers having two guys that do the exact same thing and nothing else, on the roster. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think this is going to be a very newsworthy training camp competition, because I would like to see, everybody who I named. I would like to see everybody, with the exception of Tillery, make the roster, right? Because I think all these guys have something that they bring to the table, right, that the Chargers can use. And I would like to see all these guys make the team, right? But it's going to come down to roster spots. And, with a team this talented, man, you really are going to, Tom Telesco might not sleep, 3 days before cut day or whenever it is. He actually might not sleep. He actually might not get a single minute of sleep, because there's just going to be so many things to mull over, right? You can only have carry 53 guys, and you can only dress 46 or 47, whatever it is, on game day. It's going to be hard. There's a lot of talented players on this roster, a bunch of talented players on this roster. So it is going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. There's other position battles that are going to play into this as well too. I just went over the quarterback thing. I just went over that a couple weeks ago, right? Does Easton Stick get traded, right? The Chargers brought back Chase Daniel. So do the Chargers carry 3 quarterbacks again with all of this defensive line depth? Do you want to do that? It's going to be the same thing with the offensive line as well, too. There is a lot of talented players on the offensive line, and I'm probably going to cover that tomorrow. But how do you get to 53, and how do you carry enough players, right, for depth and, for injury concerns, right? Injury concerns that are definitely going to happen, right? And you just hope that they're not serious. You hope that they're not, season-threatening injuries. But injuries are going to happen. So how much depth do you carry, and how much do you prepare for that? And maybe a position gets taken from the quarterback room, right? Maybe there's 2 quarterbacks instead of 3. We don't know, man. We'll see. This is going to be very, very interesting. There's a lot of talent on this defensive line. No matter who makes the team, though, this is enough defensive line talent with the outside linebacker talent. This is enough to get you to a Super Bowl. This is more than enough to get you to a Super Bowl, especially when you look at what the Bengals did last year. With pretty much a middle of the pack defense. This is a more than enough talent to get you to a Super Bowl. So I am curious to see how Brandon Staley, I'm curious to see how Tom Telesco play this. It's going to be difficult, man. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be very hard. And, even the guys who I'm down on, what if they perform well during camp, right? That's another caveat that, nobody's really thinking about right now that can make this difficult day even more difficult. So what happens, man? We don't know. We just don't know. I think at this point right now, I honestly don't even know. I think that Brandon Staley is probably going to lean towards guys who are more committed to stopping the run, but especially considering how bad the Chargers were last year at that specific thing. I think he possibly overcorrects and wants guys who stop the run and who are focused on stopping the run, and who put in that effort, and who show that they are 100% in on, hey, I'm stopping the run. I'm gonna let the pass rushers do their job. I'm gonna do my job. That's where I think he goes, but it's very hard to tell at this point. We won't know really anything until possibly after the first week of camp or something like that. But this is going to be something that is going to be interesting to follow. I'm definitely going to be following this. Going to be researching whatever I can. If there's any injuries, if there's any anybody who's unhappy, possibly maybe wanting out, wanting to trade, or wanting their release or something like that. Little things like that can come up as well too. But as far as we know right now, man, this is going to be a tough camp battle. But it's going to be interesting, and it's going to make for a lot of good content. So I'm definitely not complaining. But this is all I got for this video, guys. Pretty much, man. This defensive line battle. Keep your eyes open for it, man. Camp is right around the corner, so it is going to be a very, very interesting time. It's going to be a very interesting battle, and I'm looking forward to it. I know all you guys are looking forward to it as well too. But that's all I got for this one, guys. I will be back tomorrow. I'll probably be covering the same thing, probably the offensive line battles, right? I think that's a little more solidified than the defensive line is, but still obviously the biggest training camp story, in my opinion, is going to be the right tackle position, who starts, who gets awarded that position, right, with their performance in camp and the preseason games and whatnot. But we will see what happens. We'll see what happens. There's still a lot of time left before they kick it off for the preseason, so we'll see what happens. But looking forward to covering a lot of these stories. That's all I got for this one, guys. Until next time, thank you for all the support, and I will see you later.